Great.
This meeting is being recorded.
Gotta get that out of the way.
Apparently it's being recorded.
Okay, well, we're at time, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off. Well, welcome to the, what are we? September 27th, 2022 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamside technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S. And this week, I've been working on the last two videos from Hamvention. I did get the slides from Veronica and Diego, so I should get those finished up here in another day or two. And other than that, dealing with coming back from DCC. I had an adventure. Dave and I drove Friday night into Saturday. And I had forgotten. I was telling the folks that were here early. We were driving Friday night. And we thought we'd just get a hotel room in Tennessee, but it was Friday night before a Tennessee football game, so there were no rooms anywhere. So we just drove through the night to get back to St. Louis or to Columbia. So that was a long day. Anyway, that's it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. Things are going fine here. It is incredibly busy trying to keep everything going, but we're doing it. I have spent a good amount of the last week trying to resurrect my Python code from when I was a PhD student looking at these traveling ionospheric disturbances. And a lot of things have happened since I've written that code. The world has gone from Python 2 to Python 3. And then a lot of the underlying libraries I have used have either changed or completely been deprecated and replaced by new things. And so it has not been a trivial process doing that. I'm continuing to do it, but I did make some good progress this weekend, and I was able to recreate one of the plots, but holy cow, it's like this code used to work. What happened?
Yes.
And then just trying to keep up with all the other paperwork. A message for Jonathan Rizzo. Jonathan, if you're available, maybe we can stay after a little bit longer and talk about what we're doing with Morris Cohen. So back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Michael, AAAK. Michael, are you there? I think last time he didn't have, he didn't have sends his greetings on the chat. So next on the list is Bill in 8ET. Go ahead, Bill.
Not much to report here. I did get to the Cleveland Hamfest this weekend and bought some memory in a solid state drive, and I picked up a line filter, great big old honking thing. I don't know why I bought it, because I don't need one, but it was only $5 and I couldn't pass it up. So I'll think of something to do with it sometime. That's about it from here, Dave. Back to you.
Well, that's a typical scavenging ham. So
it's got a toroid in it. It's about that big around. Yeah. It's a huge thing.
Well, there was probably some time in your past you would have just loved to have that.
Yeah, I can use it once in a while now, but once I figure out what the noise is coming from, but it was just too cheap and too big and too husky to pass up. So I almost bought two of them.
Well, good luck enjoying that.
Yeah.
So next on the list, we have Dan in 4XWE. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I remember to put the right name and call sign up there this evening. So worked a little bit on scripts this past week. There was a new version of Raspberry Pi OS that came out about a month ago. And I just went through all the scripts and made sure that they all worked on the latest version of Raspberry Pi. With a couple of modifications, they all work. So that was about it. Back to you, Dave.
Well, fine business. And next on the list, we have David McGaw, N1 HAC. Go ahead, David.
Hello, everyone on the net. It's been an interesting week. Working on the Antarctic solar power system for Yeoman. And we're getting some students working on expanding our AM Doppler system. Expand that out. As it turns out, it should be a nice pattern for the upcoming eclipse in a couple of years. And helped out with the Big E exposition. The Big E is like a World's Fair for the Northeast, and ARRL has a booth there. It's like 3 weekends in a row, and the weekdays. So our club manned the booth on Saturday, and trying to promote amateur radio, and I think we got quite a few nibbles. People who had dropped out, people who had been interested since they were a kid, things like that. And right at the end, it was very interesting. As we were closing up, covering everything over, we had a group of kids come over and be fascinated with Morse code. So we spent some time with them, and we may not need it for our license, but it's certainly still popular. In fact, I think it's more popular now than it was when we had to do it. But that's a good thing. Anyway, it's been a busy week, and will continue to be so, I expect. So back to Nat.
So I have to ask, were you on the fringe of the rain, or did you get any rain this weekend?
We've gotten rain off and on quite a bit, where we had a beaver pond that was down to the mud. It's full now.
Oh,
We've gotten like 2.5, 3 inches of rain over the last week or so. So going from drought to being actually fairly wet. And we just got more rain tonight.
yeah. Very good. That's good for you. Maybe not so much for the folks over in Halifax.
Oh, not that we did not get that. The coastline was getting waves from that, but that was well off the coast here.
Okay.
But yeah, they got at least a Category 2 hurricane coming up at them.
I heard Labrador had the worst of it.
Yep. And now it's headed for Sonderstrom, where I used to work.
Okay.
In Greenland.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to see what they end up
Check
getting.
with your friends there.
Right.
Well, next on the list, we have Gary, AF8A. Gary, it's been a while.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Dave, is my audio sounding okay?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, great. I got all new hardware here, so I'm trying to make sure everything works. And you're correct. I think my summer break is over, because summer is definitely over. We've got temperatures in the upper 40s the next few evenings. So back to fall and winter mode, I guess. Been fairly busy this week trying to learn how to manage the some of the pages on the HamSci website for these solar eclipse next October. Been working on updating the rules. And Nathaniel, if you've got a few minutes, I'd like to show you the approach I'm taking. If you agree with it, I can continue. If not, obviously open to suggestions. So that's it for now, Dave.
Fine business. Next on the list is Hyoman Kim, KD2 MCR. Go ahead, Hyoman.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, I've been pretty busy with many other things, especially because of the Antarctic project that I've been pretty occupied. The other thing, maybe we have to talk. I have to talk with Nathaniel at some point. Diego is back to the business, so that the magnetometer data can be sort of centralized in one place and then integrated with your system, so that all the ham site data can be taken care of in one place. So that's what Diego is going to be working on. So yeah, I'll keep you updated. But other than that, not so much to update at this moment.
Okay. Next on the list, we have James, KG4 DSG. Go ahead, James.
Evening, Dave and the group. Not much to report here. I just pulled a hack RF off the shelf and plugged it into a server that I have, and everything locked up. So I think I got some driver issues to work out. Back to the net.
Well, good luck with that. Next on the list is Jay, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. I joined late. It seems that N8FE is having a Downton Abbey marathon upstairs these past several days, and it's addicting. So she said, "Oh, isn't the conference in progress?" "Ooh, yeah." Looked at the clock, raced down here, log in. So about the only exciting thing that's happened is that I finally got all the laundry that was built up by my being away, finally got all that through the washing machine. So that's been about the most exciting thing that's happened here this week. Nothing new really ham radio wise. So just checking in and keeping tabs on everything. Take care, everybody. 7-3, back to net.
Okay. Next on the list, we have Jim, K4 BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Good evening, all. Well, let's see what's been happening here. I'm following the hurricane closely. There is a possibility that the remnants of it will be coming up here to the Atlanta area on Friday or Saturday. We had a ARES exercise scheduled for this Saturday that may get canned in favor of the real thing, because we may actually get called up by the Weather Bureau. So we're on standby for that. And the guy says he's going to try to make a decision Wednesday on whether to call the exercise and go to the real thing, or whether we're not going to be needed for the real thing. In addition to that, I have, I'm from Tampa originally, and I still have people down there. My sister and her son and his kids are down there. Her son is a policeman with the Temple Terrace Police Department just outside Tampa. So of course he's going to be on duty the whole weekend pretty much. And the whole time that I get the weekend here, it's before that there. So they're getting ready for that now. And my sister's house backs up onto the edge of the recommended evacuation area. They've got a mandatory evacuation region, and they've got a recommended evacuation area region. And the back of her property line is the end of the recommended evacuation area. So we've been a little bit concerned about her. She's going to stay. She said, well, you know, I am on the edge, and it's a, that's for a Category 5 hurricane, and this is only going to be a Category 3. And then this afternoon, she texted and said, wow, they've upped it to Category 4. I said, well, yeah, things like that can happen. The state of the art, the prediction of hurricane movements is not an exact thing, you know. Besides that, what's going on? I've been trying to teach myself a little bit of basic Python. I did not get any of that in school. In fact, the last programming language I got in school was Fortran. So yeah, how long it's been since I've been there. And then I used BASIC in my career, and so I'd never had need for a modern language like Python, but I'm trying to learn a little bit about it now. And if anybody has a suggested reference, I would appreciate it. Other than that, that's I guess about what's the. Oh, and I have been following the NASA's landing on the Astro.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was successful this afternoon. I was happy to be able to watch that live. That's about all from here. Back from net K4BSE.
Yes, Jim, I watched that as well, and it was quite exciting to see the rocks get bigger and bigger and
Yes,
disappear.
yes, it was.
So
I do
anyway,
have, let's see, Larry Sarah did recently also look at Python for data analysis, and he recommended this particular YouTube tutorial, which I will put in the chat.
Okay, thank you. I will certainly pull that up. Make sure I look at it.
Great.
okay, next on the list, we have Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, hit the right area here on the screen. Good evening, everybody. Not much happening out here in the far west or the Wild West, whatever. And we're certainly keeping tabs on the hurricane. Sometimes we can help out with relaying messages from people who are on 20 meters too close together to talk to each other. But other than that, just trying to hold things together out here and trying to remember to turn the grape acquisition thing from null back to analysis when I finish up using the antenna for local nets. Everybody have a good week here.
Very good. Next on the list is John in 8 OBJ. It's been a while. Welcome back.
Yeah, I've been feverishly working on Grape 2. I did watch the collision of the meteor at 7:16 Eastern Standard Time. It was pretty cool. It just went gone. Anyway, I've been working closely with Bob Benedict on the Grape 2 data collection engine, which is now running. We are sampling at exactly an 8 kilohertz rate on the engine, synchronized each 1 PPS. And I had him run a basically put a stake in the ground type of piece of software where we're trying to run just in, not in interrupts, but in just a fast loop mode, tracking the 8 kilohertz samples and then just seeing if we can keep up with the read. And it turns out that the Raspberry Pi, even with a core dedicated to just the data collection engine, cannot keep up with the 8 kilohertz sample rate. So it completely blows our assumption out of the water that Grape 2 is going to do what we want. Now, in saying that, it's like doom and gloom, but that's actually not the case. Where we're getting into trouble is it can't keep, I mean, Debian Raspbian OS is not a real-time operating system. It never was, it never will be. But the issue really we have to address is the data collection engine is going to actually be able to synchronize and create the data streams, but we just can't collect it with the Raspberry Pi. So what I'm looking at architecturally right now is to interject probably something like a Teensy 4.0 or a Teensy 4.1 that's running at 800 megahertz and have it receive the data from the 3 A to Ds and do the data collection task. And then once a second, either do the DFP processing like we did with Grape 1 and FL Digi. It still doesn't look like the Grape can handle saving digital RF on 3 channels. I really don't think it just doesn't have the horsepower. The IO, it's IO bound, and you just can't do anything about it, even with USB 3. But that's again another task we haven't tested yet. But the first test we did shows that the Raspberry Pi 4B cannot keep up with the 8 kilohertz sample rate, even without it collecting data and storing anything in a file. Just trying to do the reads, it won't keep up. So I will get back to everybody on what we decide and where we're going, but it was the first stake that we actually finally got results actually last night. And the Python code can sort of do it, but you never get 0 errors because I basically have an error bit set in the A to D engine. If you don't read the A to D by the next A to D cycle, it sets an error bit. So what we're basically doing is when we see the data sample being done, we go off and read the error and clear the error bit. And that's all we're doing. I'm trying to get 8,000 samples without any errors. And we're getting on the average about 30 to 100 errors out of the 8,000. Just trying to do a tight loop looking at the bits. So clearly the Raspberry IO or the Raspbian OS just does not have the horsepower to do this. So and the way to solve it is to have an interjected CPU between the A to D engine and the Raspberry Pi doing the data collection in real time and then consolidating it and then doing the feed to the Raspberry Pi for the 1 second epochs. And that's what I'm chasing after now to try and make that work. So that's all I've got for tonight, if that's not enough.
Well, that's interesting.
I'm just curious, why, so like Bill Engelke has been able to at least get, I think at least 8 kilohertz of sampling.
Yeah, that's
through
one
digital RF.
channel. That's one channel, and it's not written. That's digital RF. It's a different way of, like I say, we're running a compiled C program, which in theory should be as fast as what he's doing, but we're doing a lot more than just collecting the thing. So there's a lot more overhead if you're doing interrupt service routine and all that kind of stuff, which is so.
Is this a limitation? How are you doing the IO? Is this a limitation of the A to D on the Pi, or are you?
No, actually, there's no A to D involved. It's just the data collection engine setting a bit on the Raspberry Pi saying the data's ready, and we go off and clear the bit saying we read it, and look at the error bit on the next read to see if we cleared it in time, and that's all it's doing in a tight loop, and it can't keep up.
So why can't it keep in? Is that with one channel it can't keep up?
It would be one channel or 3 because we'd be doing 3 at the same time.
Right, but you've only tested it with one channel so far.
Well, it's effectively it's the interrupt processes everything at one time. So whether we read one channel or 3, it's the same.
Okay.
It's just not able to keep up. So
well, what is the Grape 1 doing differently where it can keep up even if it's just?
Well, the Grape 1 is taking an 8 kilohertz data stream, putting it into an array and doing a DFT on it and spitting out just a frequency number once a second. That's a whole lot different than trying to actually save all 8,000 samples, which what the digital RF is actually doing, but that's in, I'm guessing, some type of, I don't know what the format is, but we were using integer format, trying to keep it simple. We weren't trying to use any kind of floating point. So just taking baby steps, and we hit this brick wall. So
yeah, it just strikes me as funny that we did demonstrate that it could be done in the Grape 1, but so well, I mean, are there
it is and it isn't. I mean, it's using different paths. We're using a dedicated path. I mean, there's a lot of different things OS wise that are going on behind the scenes that are different. So we have to tackle this rat's nest and figure out a way around it. And I have an idea of how I want to attack it to unload the Raspberry Pi from the main task of trying to keep up and swallowing that amount of data.
Are you trying to handle an interrupt each cycle?
No, this did not even include interrupts. This is just a continuous loop, looking at the bit and pounding on it when we get it, and then looking for the next one to make sure we don't get an error on the read. And it can't keep up with that. So the second process, or this whole process, is put on a separate core on the Raspberry Pi that was dedicated to doing this only. And even with that, it can't keep up.
Well, you say you're looking for an error bit. Obviously, you're doing an IO to a GPIO pin. When you say you're doing a read, what are you doing for the read?
Nothing at this point. We're just looking at the data engine creates this data conversion done bit at 10 microseconds after the sample is kicked off. I create the done bit, which then signals the Raspberry Pi to go off and read the A to Ds. So the program is sitting there spinning, looking for that bit to set. When it sees that bit, it it asserts the data read bit and then waits for the next one. But if I don't assert it fast enough before the next A to D cycle starts in the data engine, that's when the error bit gets set. So when the interrupt data says it's ready, I go off, I read the error bit. If it's not set, I then clear the thing to make sure it doesn't give me the error bit. But what we're looking for is when we get the data ready, that we didn't miss the last one and had the error bit set because we didn't read it in time. And this is a fast IO loop, and that's all it's doing on the core. But what we're running into is when the 1 millisecond tick through the OS comes in, it splatters that core and it just can't process stuff. Even though the core is on its own process, it doesn't have access to all the engine. And that's what stops it. And that's why you can't use a non-real-time OS or even an OS for these kind of fast data collections. So I'm not surprised this happened. This is what I was worried about. And I've got a couple ideas how to get around it. Basically, you have to relieve the 8 kilohertz sample rate from the Pi and mitigate the data collection to the Pi, but the actual data retrieval from the A to Ds and stuff has to be done in a dedicated engine. So that's where we're at.
I might suggest you look at the Pico, but you may have more
Pico is only
experience.
running at 160 megahertz. The Teensy is running at 800.
Yeah, but the
also
Pico
got
is
a
designed
dedicated-
for real-time IO. It's not running an OS. It's down.
Understand, but
it's down at the
800
hardware.
versus 160. Plus, the Teensy has a dedicated, floating point unit that does most floating point operations in 2 clock cycles. So, at 800 megahertz, that's the way to go. The Pico just doesn't have the horsepower.
Well, if you're going to throw a Teensy at it, get rid of the Pi.
Well, no, because the Pi has to do the actual data collection and saving. I mean, we still have the task of trying to write the file to the disk. And that's what the Teensy or the Raspberry Pi is going to have to do.
Teensy can do disk IO.
So again, we have to segment it and split it off and give each one the capabilities so that it can handle it. But right now, my first, the Pi in the sky, the Pi does everything. We do nothing else externally, and the data engine creates the data rate is not going to work. So sort of what I figured, but we confirmed it tonight and we're moving on. So just thought I'd touch base with everybody, let you know where we're at.
Well,
OBJ, back to net.
thank you. And we have a couple more people to call before we get to the end of the list. So next on the list, we have Jonathan, KC3 EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. I didn't have too much of a busy week. I upgraded VLFRX tools on my Raspberry Pi. I didn't restart the script to rerun the new version, but I figured I would upgrade the version because I noticed that in the event detector, the VLF server, which is running the latest version, would capture more Whistler events than the event detector running on the Pi, which is why that I upgraded it. The GPS problem still seems to be doing okay now, but I have to set it to use the pulse per second. I haven't gotten a chance to do that yet. I was playing around and learning about the IPMI standard and remote server administration. So what I was doing, I built myself a NAS with a Supermicro server motherboard, and I learned about the remote control interface and IKVM, and I found it really easy and really convenient that if you have to access a server remotely and power it on and off and do administration, then it's very, very, very easy to do. And you don't need a keyboard, you don't need a monitor. You don't even need to be there, which is nice. So if the time comes, then that would be great to administer any remote VLF servers. Also, I was able to configure the server with the various services and applications that I wanted, and I'm currently working on that right now. And Nathaniel, yes, I will be available afterwards whenever you're ready, and we can discuss. And Joe, W7LUX, I still have to run your recording through VT filter to see if I could remove the hum, or I could also give you an example of how to do it yourself if you have a Linux system. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay, and next on the list is Jules, K2KGJ. Go ahead, Jules. Microphone. Not hearing you, Jules. You need to turn your microphone on.
Finally, all right.
There you
For
go.
some reason I wasn't able to unmute. Yeah, nothing new to report this week. Just getting ready for some cataract surgery on Thursday. Back to net.
Okay, and next on the list we have Scotty, W2. Whoa, where'd you go? The W2DFI. Go ahead, Scotty.
Hey there, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, well, this week we completed, thanks to Nona, we completed the testing of all 500 magnetometer boards. So they're all programmed and tested and in little packs like this, ready to go and set pairs of boards. Also got the TangerineSDR boards. I added the hardware to them, getting them ready to be shipped out. That happened the next day or so. And then Jules, I still haven't shipped out your set of boards because I pirated some of the parts out of the kit, so I ordered some more, so I've got them in. So yours will go out in the next day or two also.
Okay, thanks.
And I guess that's all for now. Just trying to stay cool out here. It was 102 today, so we're still in summer for a little while.
Are you still in your old house or
Still
moving to a temporary?
No, we're still in the old house. They're pouring the slab this week. So
okay,
start at the bottom, work your way up.
Yep.
Scotty,
Okay.
are those gonna be sold through Tapper?
Yes.
They are. They're going to be. We're packaging them up to be shipped off to the Tapper store, so they'll be sold through Tapper.
Okay, great. Look forward to it.
Yes. So we have Tom in 5EG. Tom, comments? Did you make it home?
Yeah, I made it home. Still have dead internet. Starlink is sending me a replacement indoor unit. Should be here Thursday. And there's about a 50-50 chance that'll fix the problem. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll be back to support to try to get the outdoor unit. I'm at my sister-in-law's house. She has internet, so I can get on. This week, I coded up the bidirectional SPI converter in Verilog and simulated it, and the simulation looks good. I'll be putting that into the FPGA. That's neat. That's the four-legged alarm system, I guess. Anyway, I'll be putting that in the FPGA in preparation for trying to test the SPI interface. And Bob Strickland was kind enough to give me a Verilog textbook at DCC, and I'm at about chapter 3. And looking at my Verilog, it's about kindergarten level Verilog. So I'm sure there's better ways to do it. And that's it for the week.
Well, very good, Tom. Glad you made it home. and making some progress once you get your internet fixed.
Yeah, yeah. It's a real pain not to have internet.
Yep. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the list. So I think I've called on everybody as far as I can tell. I thought I caught everybody that jumped in late. So we're open for general discussion.
Well, that's really good news, Scotty, about the magnetometer boards. So I guess we should talk with Hyomin, because Hyomin, it looks like they're getting really close to getting ready to actually sell these.
So Scotty, I wanted to mention in a discussion after your talk, I don't know if you heard it or not, people were confused about the how to use them. And there were individuals in the audience at DCC that thought they could buy one board and just stick it on a Pi and they would be done. And we were trying to explain, no, you need two boards and one has to be outside and preferably below ground, which is what we want.
So it sounds like we need to maybe put that explanation up on the website, on the ordering website, so they don't get confused and
Yes.
they're ordering something that's not what they think they're getting.
We might want to try to make some sort of a video of how it should be set up.
Okay. Well, I think when we get the manual done, when I get it finished,
Yeah.
at least I guess Jules is working on the remote part. I'm going to work on the local part. But when all that's done and the dust settles, all the info will be in the manual. But
yeah,
how this goes, we're hams. We don't read manuals until it's like you get stuck somewhere. So I think the preliminary information to see, well, do you want to buy one of these? That's kind of where the web page would be. And I don't know what else we can. I mean, there's a lot of information online already, but it is scattered around a bit. And I think we need to put it in one place so we can, try to encourage people to buy them.
Yes.
Should the ordering on the page be set up so that when folks buy it, they get both the indoor and the outdoor unit as a single order entry?
They do. We're going to have two kits, the local kit and the remote kit. The local kit contains, actually, the remote, it's a misnomer because the remote kit is really the burial kit. Okay, sounds pretty grim, but the local kit has both boards and all the parts necessary to build the one for the Raspberry Pi and the one that goes in the pipe. And then the remote kit will be like the PVC fittings and the bulkhead connector, and it'll tell you where to go to get the cable and all of that. So you really need both ends to be done. And we need to explain that so that people don't buy the one kit and think that they're done, that they don't have to buy the pipe and all of that.
Yeah.
So it has to be explained. And
I did try to make that clear at DCC, but I don't know if it got across.
There'll be a lot of folks ordering who didn't attend DCC.
Yep.
And the ordering process has to help them make the right choice.
But what I'm envisioning is a diagram of the whole system showing the backyard and the thing buried in the ground, and then a dotted line around this is this kit and this is this kit and this is that part number for the cable. So to show you like the three things you're going to have to buy: the indoor kit, the outdoor kit, and the cable. And it's not that easy because the indoor kit includes the outdoor board, but just none of the things that Jules is going to describe on how to build the thing into a waterproof pipe to stick in the ground.
Yeah, the other thing, I'm hoping that these people who are buying the kits have some experience with using tools and working with some of this stuff, because otherwise, we're going to have to handhold, which is going to be a real problem.
Well, Jules, I'm thinking of I'd rather spend an afternoon drilling the caps and we'll drill them all here and they'll get a pre-drilled one.
Okay, well, you saw that note that I sent out that if you just use that VB11 step drill, it's a zip, and you've got the hole that's maybe a 32nd or larger than the diameter of that thing, that you epoxy it in place and you're done.
Yeah, and you don't have to file or anything like that.
Exactly, no filing, nothing. Just drill it, epoxy, and let it sit for overnight, and that's it.
Because you said you were going to try a hole saw. Did you try that?
Yeah, it was terrible. It made a very rough hole. It was very difficult to secure while it was drilling. the hole saw was just much too coarse. And it basically, the cost of the hole saw with arbor was about $15. So, and this was a really good quality one too. So it really doesn't work very well.
So was the problem that it tended to melt the plastic, or was what?
No, the teeth were so coarse that it really chewed up the plastic.
Oh, I see. And the step drill is much finer, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
sharp,
it's a very smooth
lines.
hole, very smooth.
So then you have to go ahead, Dave.
I did mine with a step drill too. So
if I have a drill press, I could set the depth so it'll go the same every time, and that's probably important with the step drill.
Well, actually, if you use the VB11, you just go all the way through. There's no setting
all the
of
way
depth.
to the end, the last.
Oh, okay.
cut.
Yep.
So it's not critical then, the depth.
You just run it through till all the steps are gone.
Yeah, and it has a fine point to start, so you don't have to do a starting hole.
No start. Okay.
It's
So
really simple.
Because I'm thinking if we use a hex type cap, we would put the hex in the. I have a vise on my drill press.
Yeah.
And I would put the hex flanges down and drill from the inside. That would still work, right?
Do the other way around.
The other way around.
Okay, because my component vise on my drill press is only about that high. So if
the problem is that you need the depth below that cap in order for that step drill to go all the way down through. And unless your component vise has, at least an inch of clearance underneath, you're going to hit something and ruin the drill. Yeah,
it has something underneath, but it's centered on the plate. But I don't know if the hole is big enough on the drill press, the table of the drill press. There's a hole underneath the component vise, but it's maybe only, I don't know if it's even an inch big. So.
Well, actually, I found that I was able to do it with the round cap, and the vise I've got is a machinist vise mounted on a rotating table on the drill press. But it's it's not that heavy a vise, and it held that. If I also hold it with my two fingers, and the vise as the drill press is coming down with that, and do it slowly, not fast. Let's just go pop, 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 pop through. It was fine. It didn't grab. It worked perfectly.
And you set the drill press speed to pretty low speed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the same as Jules did. So.
Okay, what I want to be able to do if I'm going to do 250 of these is to be able to just take the cap and push it up against both the X and Y corners, if you will. So, and my vise screws together like this. So I'm going to have to put some kind of baffle back here to push the thing up against to make sure it's centered. So if I can just push it in a 3-walled opening and then just drill it, then it'll be really fast and you can drill them all. But if you have to center each one before you press the drill down, that's going to be a real nuisance.
Well, if you set up the vise initially so that it's centered forward and backward and along that axis,
right?
And then just put a couple of blocks in that basically give you the centering right left. Then all you have to do is slip that thing in and it's done, and tighten it up and it's done.
Just drop it in the hole basically, and then you use your hand to hold it from rotating.
Well, actually, I'd use the vise and your hand both.
Okay, so then you want to put a block in the X direction. You only really need one if you're going to clamp it, right?
Right.
So you want to be able to slide it in until it hits the X block and then clamp the Y direction with the vise and then drill it.
Yeah, that should
vice
work.
versa, whichever way.
That's pretty much what I did.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, that's the plan to do that, because I think I can do that in a couple hours. I can do 250 of them. It's not really that big of a deal. Once it gets below 100 degrees here, so I can go out in my shop again.
So the overall design, electrical designs are identical, right?
They are identical. The addresses may be different than the different boards that Dave's been using. I don't know, because we have several different address schemes.
You said that you did not populate some of the parts.
Right, that the local temperature sensor is not there because we couldn't get the parts. So we have on the remote board, and the boards are marked with serial numbers that end in L and R. So even if you're total, you don't have to look at components or anything. You just look at the sticker on the back of the board. L is for the Raspberry Pi local, R is for in the garden. And the L board has, and you can't really do it wrong because the L board has no headers for the P&I board. So you can't use that one remotely. And that was a cost reduction effort. Okay, so the local board has no temperature sensor on it. So it's basically all it is without the P&I board plugged on. It's just a repeater out to the garden. And then the remote board does have a temperature sensor. And of course it has the two headers to plug the P&I board on it. So it'll have two devices responding out there and none responding here. And we've tested every one of the boards in a double situation. In other words, local and remote connected up. So what I do, I'm using Dave's software, and I just tell it, don't read the local, read the remote only.
Yeah.
And then that, so if the software tries to read the local temperature, you're going to get an error. So I hope that's not going to be something that it does.
Yeah, Scotty, if you want to send me either one or two things, either I'll order 50 caps, or if you want to send me 50, I can knock out that in an afternoon, and you don't have to do all of them. That's not because the drill press is set up. It's no big deal.
Oh, okay.
So either I'll buy 50 and reimburse me, or send me 50, one or the other.
Yeah, buying them will be easiest. In fact, what I would do is I would get you to send them directly to Bruce in Alabama, who runs the store. So he would include those in the kit then if we did
Okay.
that.
All
So,
right.
and I remember the emails that went by a few weeks ago. You have the part number for the cap in one of those, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I can buy the rest of them.
So Scotty, can you provide me with some more detailed information about the electrical specification of that magnetometer so that it can be included in the paper, in the future paper?
Sure. When is your paper due?
Well,
I want to write an actual user manual and include the schematic and everything in it. So
okay, so if you're okay, that's a good idea. So, and if you are thinking of if you're planning a manual, then I can actually grab information from the manual.
Yeah. So is there anything
the other thing is that you said that the address might be different than our manuals. The current manual actually has the information about the address. Then if the address is different, then you have to address that issue in the manual too. We have to warn the users that the address might be different.
Right.
Well, they should also, once they've got it up and running, they should also do a check on what ports are being used on the I2C detect.
Yes.
And then they know what's what. So.
Yeah, I mean, for those who are not so familiar with, I mean, I don't know who's going to be the target user, like engineers or high schoolers and
hams.
Okay.
Scotty, you got your mic off.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking probably both. So we want to make it simple enough that pretty much anybody who's a Raspberry, I'm thinking a Raspberry Pi user is the target.
Yeah.
So if you understand how to boot Ubuntu and get your way around inside Raspberry Pi or Raspbian, whichever, then you'll be able to do this. Very minimal hardware, just bolting things together, plugging things on. You'll have to solder because you have to solder the 40-pin connector on, and you have to solder the two RJ45s on. And but other than that, I mean, I think that's not beyond a high school ham, maybe.
So even though the address is different, then can that be accommodated without having too much worry
There's
about?
a switch on the command line program for the address.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, but you do need to read the, just types of program and get the help list, and then it'll give you what all the switches are and whether they need a variable or if they're just like an on off.
So Dave, is it still Run Mag that everyone's using?
That's what I've been using.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so I have the switches for that already, so to make it work.
And I gave Scotty the ones I'm using right now that are working fine. And they are different than the Rev D boards that that have, the Rev D boards have what is in Dave's manual.
Yeah, and I have a suggestion for the software too, if Dave is interested, because I found the problem where my setup didn't work. I don't know if I told you.
No.
Stopped me for about 2 weeks scratching my head because I'm not really a software guy. So I got into the code and started doing the poor man's debugger, you know, inserting printfs and trying to figure out where it's stalled. Turns out I had a bad P&I board.
Oh.
That was the problem. And the problem is it read, the I2C interface worked, but the data that it got back was incorrect. So the D ready never came ready.
Oh, okay.
And so what I would like to do is add a line of code in there. So if the D ready is not ready, it doesn't just sit there and spin forever, that it gives you an error message. Because if it had done that, it would have been immediately obvious to me that I should throw that board away and go get a new one. And I know Dave's code wasn't written to be test code. So and you know, it was interesting because I learned a lot about I mean, I know C from ancient times, but to see the modern versions, it was interesting. So
my impression of the software is it's fairly well written, and Dave spent an awful lot of time on it.
it is. It looks very good. It's just that one case, he just assumed that the board would be there, and of course, in my case, since I'm testing, there may be a case when it isn't there. So
You had one that didn't.
Yeah, I had one that didn't. So I'm going to take the hammer to that board.
Well, isn't that the probability that if you have an error, you're going to get one that you don't check for?
Yeah, that's true. That's like a corollary to Murphy's Law, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, yeah, and I don't know what addresses you use, but I've got the especially if you have a Rev D board set, the addresses are different.
Yes.
So you'll have to And in
so
fact,
it's basically the P&I board moved from like 20 to 23 or something like that.
Moved from the P&I. Actually, the P&I board did not move.
Oh, it did move.
The local guy moved, but
it was 18 and 19 on the original board, and it was
sensors for the temperature. For the temperature
sensors, and it went to 1E, 1F on the newest boards.
But on the newest boards now it will be nothing because that temperature sensor is not there on local.
One of them is, but the other one isn't.
The remote will go from 19 to 1F.
1F. Okay.
That'll be really the only change, I think, because the P&Is are still 22 and 23.
Okay.
No, it didn't change that.
We need to probably document that if people are somewhere.
Well, I was
the differences between the Rev boards.
I was going to document the Rev D because I think those are the only ones that we have outstanding in any kind of volumes.
Yes.
We might have a few Rev Cs or Bs out, but they're almost all Rev Ds because I think we built 50 of those.
Yep.
So there's people using those. And Dave does tell you when you put the wrong address in for that.
Yes.
So that's how I figured out the difference between the addresses. So yeah, it's be pretty interesting here getting all this going.
Well,
and yeah, so we'll package it so that you'll get the kit, and it won't be that. The only confusing thing, like I said, is the underground kit versus the. So maybe we should call them a magnetometer kit and an underground burial kit, because that's really what the thing is you're going to get. You're going to already have the board.
Right.
And is your guy in Missouri there? Is he willing to give us a special part number, or just does he have a standard part number?
You mean the Show Me guy?
The guy that has the cables.
Oh, he's like a major vendor.
So will he have a standard part number we can use that people can order?
He usually does. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is like they supply a lot of computer cables to people who are wiring up buildings.
Okay.
As well as RF cables for hams.
And he has an online website, right? I'm sure
he has an online website. And actually, sometimes the stuff comes from St. Louis. Sometimes it comes from Dallas.
Oh, so he's got a plant down there too?
Or at least has vendors that he can send parts from.
because I don't really want to deal with rolls, 100-foot rolls of cable. I'd rather say,
Right.
Mr. User, here's the part number, go here and buy it.
So one time I had mine sitting on the ground and I ran my lawnmower over and cut it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
Same here.
I came in, ordered it, and the next day, of course, I'm in Columbia, Missouri, but I ordered 2 cables so that I had a spare. And they were here the next day.
Oh, that's great.
So, and of course, your mileage may vary.
Well, of course, we're all used to Amazon, where if it's not shipped the day
Yeah,
that I
right.
make the order, I'm upset.
Yeah.
And I admit that there's lots of things that I bought on Amazon that my decision on which variety to buy is based upon which one I can get the same day or the next day.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the one thing about this guy that I recommended is the quality of his things he sells is very good.
And they're reasonable price, so
They're not the cheapest price. You could buy it cheaper on Amazon, but
yeah. Well, and the like you said, your mileage may vary. If the person wants to buy cheap cable, then
Yeah.
they can buy the cheap cable and take what the performance they get.
Right.
But we should at least say it needs to be Cat 6 or Cat 5. It needs to be a certain gauge and
And
shield.
copper conductors, not aluminum covered copper. It
Okay,
has to be
and
pure copper.
stranded versus solid, what difference? Does it matter?
Either way, but doesn't matter as long as it's pure copper.
Okay. They really do copper clad aluminum?
Oh, yeah. In fact, if you're not careful, you get CCA.
Okay, because I'm looking to wiring my house with Cat 6E. And I'm looking at the different, and you could buy cable 1,000 feet as cheap as about $120 and as expensive as maybe 200. And of course, plenum rated is more, direct burial rate is more, but if I stick with regular non-plenum rated, there's still almost a 2-to-1 variation in price.
Right.
So stranded versus solid doesn't really matter.
Nope.
Even when you're putting connectors on, you got to get the right connector for the
Yeah,
cable.
you have to get the right connectors. If you're going to do your connectorization, then solid is easier than stranded, but
okay. And
So-
also
There's also shielded versus unshielded.
yes.
Well, I'm using shielded. Okay.
Okay.
I've been comparing shielded to
Same
shielded.
here. Yeah.
I think, isn't there a difference in gauge of wire also? Or are they all, I think they're like
Yeah, that in the
7 gauge.
there's 24 versus 23.
Well, that's
24
right.
is the usual, 23 I think is the Cat 6.
So a little bit heavier cable. But
Yeah.
Is that because it's Cat 6 or because you just
That's Cat, yeah, I have not seen a 23 gauge in Cat 5.
But are all Cat 6s 23? That's the standard?
Most of it.
Okay.
I've seen supposedly Cat 6 rated that was 24, but most of it is 23.
Okay. So it seems
The other
like
thing is that besides the shielded versus unshielded, there's the direct burial, which has the silicon goo or whatever else they put on that stuff, which makes it interesting when you're putting connectors on.
Ew. So is it recommended for our use for the 100 feet to be direct burial?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can get outdoor rated, which essentially is a waterproof and has a heavier jacket and something in the jacket which supposedly repels water, but definitely direct burial is the best stuff.
Hey, is that what you got, Dave?
I got it's not direct burial, but I also have the attitude that I'm going to buy a bunch of it. So if it goes bad for some reason, it's pretty easy to disconnect it and put another one in.
And you're just going to lay it on the ground, right? You're not going to
Right now I'm laying it on the ground. I put in some coax, but not a full run out to where I have the magnetometer yet. It only goes about halfway.
Well,
Yeah,
so are
but-
we recommending Cat 6 or Cat 5?
Either one.
Okay, so either Cat 6. So the only real requirement is that it's shielded.
Yeah, if you want, the only virtue in running Cat 6 with a slightly heavier conductor means you can probably go out to 1,000 feet easily without losing any voltage.
Okay. So maybe
But
we should
otherwise, if we can
recommend-
do anything 400 feet or less, Cat 5 is fine.
So we should recommend for runs under 400 feet, Cat 5, and if you want to
Mm-hmm.
go beyond 400 feet, then we really recommend Cat 6.
Yeah.
And then shielded required, and direct burial is recommended or not, depending on your environment.
Yeah, if you're going to just lay it on the ground with all the possible hazards that entails, then just outdoor rated cable should be satisfactory.
You should just
But it
plan
has
on
to be
buying.
outdoor rated. If it's indoor rated, it's not going to be good. It either has to be outdoor rated, or it has to be direct burial if you're going to bury it.
What about plenum rated? Is that?
Nah,
So
plenum rated is
Plenum rating has to do with the
fire.
outgassing
Yeah.
in a fire condition.
Right.
That's
Okay,
nothing
so
to
nothing
do.
to do with indoor outdoor then.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So then, okay. So if you plan to buy just regular outdoor cable and lay it on the ground, then you should plan to get a couple runs. So when you hit it with the lawnmower, you can replace
Yep.
it.
I now have an electric lawnmower and it doesn't do as much damage as the gasoline one
It
did.
doesn't take much damage to the cable though to make it inoperable.
Do they have lawnmower rated cable?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see any.
That's the ones that's in EMT, right?
Yeah, it's called steel conduit or EMT, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So anyway, when I get to that point, when I get to that point in the manual, I'll send it to Hillman and Tom and anyone else who wants a copy, and Dave and Jules to review it, see if I didn't forget anything. Because I'm thinking I'm going to focus on the prep of the boards and the parts that you need and the whole layout of the whole system, and then I'm going to in the software I'm going to put in an appendix so that can be changed as we and updated and all that as we go, because that may not stay constant.
Right.
So are we going to distribute this through the store, or are we going to have it on Tangerine SDR?
I think we put a link on Tangerine to the store.
Okay.
That'll be the easiest, because Bruce is going to do the final assembly of the kits.
Okay.
So, because it's really going to be what you're going to order. What you're going to get when you order is you're going to get a pack like this, and then you're going to get a little Ziploc bag of parts, which is about 5 parts, which you're going to solder onto one or the other of these boards. And then one of them will go on the Raspberry Pi, the other one will go in the pipe. You buy the burial kit to complete that end, and the Cat 5 or 6 cable, and that should be everything that you need. There's really 3 things to order. Well, actually, there's more than that, because we're not going to supply the pipe because it's 3 feet long.
Yeah.
So you're going to get to go down to Home Depot and buy a scrap or buy a 3-foot piece, however you want to do that. But we will provide all of the fittings and then you'll have to have some either RTV or PVC cement, but both, because you're going to glue some of them and you're going to silicone some of them. So we're going to tell you which ones to do. So that way it'll be pretty straightforward. I mean,
Yeah, and then inside the pipe, you'll also need a Cat 5 or Cat 6 shielded extension cable.
right, just like a 3-footer, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. And we will supply that. I just don't want to have to supply a 3-foot length of pipe.
Yeah.
So because Bruce, when he kits the parts up, he said if he could fit it into a priority box, small priority box, then the mailman will pick up however many of those he puts out. But if it goes in a bigger box, then he's got to drive to the post office about 10 miles away to mail them. So it's much more convenient for him. And realistically, how many people don't live within 10 miles of a Home Depot or Lowe's that they can't get the pipe? The only thing
outside the US.
Outside the US, I'm worried about that, because if we send them US fittings, are they going to be able to buy a US size pipe? I have no idea what they sell at the Swedish Home Depot. Whether it's US sizes.
It is not unlikely that we will sell some of these to Europe, and
it isn't unlikely. And if that's the case, we may have to have an offshore kit, or we may just say, you guys offshore, here's the list. Here's what you can buy.
Yes.
And I have thought about it too, is we could conceivably, rather than ship a 3-foot long box, we could give the user 3 1-foot pieces of pipe and 2 couplers.
Yeah.
And let them glue it together and make a 3-foot pipe. And then we could fit it in a package much smaller. So that might be another alternative, because if they can't buy the same size fittings, then they're not going to be able to put the thing together. unless they buy everything over there, in which case we could give them a list, a laundry list of things to buy.
My guess is that the guys who are offshore, if they're going to be buying any of this stuff, are going to be savvy enough to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and they'll
Yeah.
be able to read the instructions and say, oh, that's what they want to do, and
Yeah.
do it that way. So, and I don't
When
know
you,
if European size of pipe is, PVC is the same as ours or not.
Well,
I don't know. I haven't checked the standards.
I'll
Yes.
email Zoltan in Hungary and ask him.
yes,
When you get PVC pipe, what sizes do you get? Is it like Schedule 40? Is it a standard Schedule 40? Because really, I think it's based on the ID of the pipe, the
Yes.
schedule, but yet the OD has to be constant, otherwise it won't fit in the fittings.
Right.
So 125 and Schedule 40 and Schedule 80 all have the same OD, so they fit in the fittings.
Right.
So
when you sell these things, Scotty, can you keep track of the contact information of people who buy them? Because it will probably be useful from a science perspective to try and keep in touch with these people. And I'm not convinced that we have the whole data collection system worked out properly yet.
okay, one thing we might do is we might have that may be problematic for Bruce to keep track of the buyers. And what we could do though is in the instructions, we could say, register your device at. And if we have a web page that we could use to keep track of people, they could sign up. Just
Yeah.
put their email address in, so that when we have updates or, oh, the data collection site changed, we can give you the new information.
Yeah,
Right.
also to be able to provide their data set, they maybe have to sign up for this so that that way we can keep track of their.
Okay, so when I buy one of these and I put it all together and I want to supply my data to the cloud, to the website, how do I do that? Do I have to sign up? Do I just blast it to a certain address, or there's any authentication or anything of the?
Well, the way it's supposed to work is Bill Engelke's system is supposed to have a whole sign-on process for this, but I just don't think it's going to be ready in time for to correspond with you selling these things. So I mean, ideally I'd really like to have the data collection system ready and rolling at the same time that these things go out, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
Okay, so we ought to have go ahead.
I was going to say, Nathaniel, I have actually a local copy of all 3 years of data I've collected, as well as a copy on Dave's site. So it is possible somebody could keep a copy locally for a very long time and still contribute it.
Oh, that's absolutely true. It would just be much more ideal if we had the whole data collection server ready at the same time.
So what
then and even if we don't, we really do want to keep track of the people who are actually buying these things, so that when it does become available, because otherwise, that's one of the things that people want to do. At least I'm assuming that's certainly one of the things that our goals as a science users is we want to have access to that data. So we need to make sure we're able to have a system for collecting that data or having that data get from one place
Well,
to.
why would a user buy one of these if he didn't want to contribute his data? That's kind of like.
Well, unless they just want to look at the magnetometer.
I guess so.
Output.
Yeah.
So what we ought to do then is we ought to have an informational web page for the magnetometer that says, here's how to sign up. So when it comes available, here's the way you can sign up. Input your call sign, your email address, kind of like a registration page.
How soon are these going to actually go on for sale?
I think we have control over that. So however long we need, really. I mean, I don't want to really sit on them for a long time.
No.
I'd like to have them come out early enough.
I would say within a month.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bill Engelke is in Portugal right now for a conference. Can we have a discussion with him next week about can we get his system up and running in time for the release of these things?
Well,
That's fine, and,
The-
and you know, I'm perfectly willing to wait a little bit. I'd kind of like to hit the Christmas holiday for
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
'cause,
I mean, at this rate, you still have to write, you're still working on writing the manual, right? There's still
Right.
some things that need to be done, right?
before we can
So-
release it, right?
Yeah.
Nathaniel, the other thing is, if there could be a registration place, they may not have to upload the data immediately, but
Yeah.
um,
I'd really like to have it all kind of one thing together, because it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be register the thing, we're starting to collect the data. If we start having it go all over the place, I don't know how we're going to keep track of that.
We'll never read
That's
it
right.
back in.
Yeah,
We'll never be able to read it back in.
I mean, it's going to be really, really, really difficult. So Bill Engelke does have a prototype of the data collection system operational. So I think we should really try and talk to him and see if we can get pushed over the edge to start collecting this magnetometer data.
'Cause
Otherwise, I
certainly
really
we
think
need
we're
to
going to be in trouble.
coordinate it. We need to coordinate it because otherwise
Yeah,
it's
I
a mess.
really think that's going to be important. And I think it is possible because, he did have the demo of it at the at the other place, at the Tapper DCC. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm looking at it's going to be a while for the manual because we're going to have to go through reviews and to make sure we get everything in there, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be instant.
Well, we don't want to start letting these things out before you have a manual. You don't want to start letting them out really before we collect the data. And we really do have to make this stuff happen. So otherwise we're really going to be lost.
Yeah, and if you just dump these all out there and you don't have any place for the data to go, then
We'll never see them again. It'll be
you
useless.
defeated the purpose of why you did it in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think we really need to have a chat with Bill when he gets back next week and work on getting that over the hump. Are you able to, so you said the Tangerine, you're about ready to send it out. When can you send Kung, and when do you think
he's the first one on the list? So I'll be talking to you probably tomorrow and get the list of, I'm going to ship them to you. All the ones for Scranton are going to go directly to you.
Okay. Well, I think there are three people who need one right away. Well, really two. So it's got to be Kung, and then Tom McDermott and Dave Larson, right?
Right. And
Those
John
are the three,
Ackerman.
and John Ackerman. Aside from that, I wouldn't send any more out
Until we're ready.
because-
And Bill is first on the next list after that.
Yes, but we just need the first list right now. And the only people who should be getting them on the first list are people who are writing Verilog code. Because the things are useless without Verilog code.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the only people who should get any of these things are people who can actually write useful Verilog code.
Otherwise, we'll send them all out and they'll just sit there like they.
Right. And that's not useful either.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, at least I guess if they're with you, you can send the rest to me and then I at least have them. Which maybe that does make sense. And then I can ship them out. But really we need to get them. The only ones that should go out to other people should be to Dave Larson, Tom McDermott, Kung, and if anyone else is going to be
with
writing
adapter
good
boards,
Verilog code.
There's no point in sending any out to anyone who doesn't have an adapter, has an off the shelf DK kit.
Right.
Because that's
Yeah.
required to utilize the adapter board.
Yeah.
And Tom has one, Dave has one, you have 3 of them, Dan
Yeah.
has one.
Yeah.
and John Ackerman may not have one, but we'll have to send him one. I can
It-
send him one of mine.
Yeah, Dave.
I was just going to say, I'm going to be working with John on some configuration software for the GPS as well.
Well, actually, John, I don't think really needs one because he's going to be able to power the adapter board directly and plug in the USB port to the synthesizer directly because it's on the adapter board.
Yep.
So he can still work on the clock module without having the adapter board, without having.
Is there an advantage to John having the adapter board? I feel like there might be.
Maybe there is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like John's the type of person.
He's going to get the adapter board. He's got to have that. He just won't have the off-the-shelf DK board. That's the board that he doesn't have, the Intel board, Altera board.
Okay. I have a couple sitting on my shelf. So if John needs one, if that would help him, I can send him one.
Okay, will do.
Yeah. So.
I need to go.
Okay.
Are we gonna go a lot longer?
I
mean,
I think
you guys don't have to.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna
I just
chat with Jonathan.
Okay.
So I think I got what I wanted to talk about tonight. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
need to go back and help Nona packaging these boards. So
Thank you.
Okay.
So
See
that
you all
sounds
next
good.
week.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.
bye.
See you.